Hello, good morning, my friends. We're back with another reading of the Spirit's book. We are at part 2 of the book, and in part 2, they have a title. It says The Spirit World, or The World of Spirits. And this part covers from chapter 1 until chapter 11. And chapter 1 talks about the spirits. Now, we start our chapter 1, and with the spirits as the title of as chapter 1, it has topics also. And the topics are the origin and nature of spirits, the primitive normal world, the form and ubiquity of spirits, the perispirit, the different orders of spirits, the spirit hierarchy, and the progression of spirits and angels and demons. Now, we start with the origin of and nature of spirits, and this part comes with question 76. How may we define spirits? And then the Spirit answers. We can say that spirits are the intelligent beings of creation. They populate the universe beyond the material world. Question 77. Are spirits beings distinct from the divinity, or are they only emanations or portions of the divinity? The reason why they are called the children of God. Then the Spirit answers. Good gracious, of course, they are God's work. It is like a man who builds a machine. For example, the machine is the man's work, but it's not the man himself. You know that when individuals make nice and useful things, they call them their children, their creation. Well then, it is the same with God. We are God's children because we are products of the divine work. Now, next question, 78. Did spirits have a beginning, or have they existed from all eternity like God? And then the Spirit answers. If spirits had no beginning, they would be equal to God. On the contrary, they are God's creation and subject to the divine will. God has existed from all eternity. That is incontestable. But we know nothing as to when and how the spirits were created. You could say that we had no beginning if you mean that since God is eternal, then God must have always and unceasingly created spirits. Nevertheless, when and how each of us was created individually, I will repeat, no one knows. It is a mystery. Number 79 question. Since there are two general elements in the universe, in other words, the intelligent element and the material element, could we say that spirits are formed from the intelligent element while inert bodies are formed from the material element? The Spirit answers. Obviously, spirits are individualizations of the intelligent principle, just as bodies are individualizations of the material principle. It is the time and matter of this formation that we do not know. Now, question number 80. Is the creation of spirits continuous, or did it only occur at the beginning of time? And then the Spirit answers. It is continuous, which means that God has never ceased creating them. Question 80. Are spirits formed spontaneously, or do they proceed from one another? The Spirit answers, like all creatures, God creates them by the divine will. But let me repeat once more, their origin is a mystery. Question number 82. Is it correct to say that spirits are immaterial? The Spirit answers, how can we define something when we have no terms for comparison, and when we only have an insufficient language at our disposal? Can one who is born blind define light? Immaterial is not the right word. Incorporeal would be more precise, because you should understand that since it is a creation, a spirit must be something. A spirit is quintessentialized matter, and for that part he makes a note saying that quintessence means the fifth is essence, the pure and concentrate essence of a substance. And then let's go back to the text. A spirit is quintessentialized matter. Thus, you have no analogies for describing it. It is also so etherealized that your senses cannot perceive it. Then the author, Kardec, makes a note. We say that spirits are immaterial because their essence differs from everything we label as matter. A nation of blind people would not have any words for expressing light and its effects. Those who are in fact born blind imagine that they perceive everything through their hearing, smell, taste, and touch. But they would not be able to comprehend ideas that came to them through the same sense they lack. In the same way, we too are blind regarding the essence of superhuman beings. We cannot define them except by an effort involving our imagination, or by making comparisons that will always be imperfect. Now, question 83. Do spirits have an end? We can understand that the principle from which they emanate is eternal, but what we are asking is whether or not their own individuality will come to an end, and whether or not, like material bodies, at some given time in the near or distant future, the element from which they have been formed will disintegrate and return to the mass from which it came. Is it difficult to understand how something that had a beginning would not also have an end? Then the Spirit answers, there are many things that you do not understand because your intelligence is limited, but that is no reason to reject them. A child does not understand everything that its parents understand, nor does an uneducated person understand all that a scholar understands. We are saying that spirits' individual existences never come to an end. That is all that we can say for now. Now there is another topic for the questions that follow. The primitive normal world. Question 84. Do spirits comprise a separate world beyond the one we see? The answer, yes. The world of spirits or incorporeal intelligences. Question number 85. Which of the two, the spirit world or the corporeal one, is the principal one in the order of things? Answer, the spirit world. It is pre-existent to and will survive everything else. Question 86. Could the corporeal world cease to exist, or might it never have existed in the first place without altering the essence of the spirit world? And the Spirit answers, Yes, they are independent of each other, yet their correlation is unceasing because they continually react upon each other. Question 87. Do spirits occupy a specific circumscribed region of space? Answer. Spirits are everywhere. They populate infinite space in infinite numbers. There are even some who are constantly at your side, observing and acting upon you without your being aware of it. This is because spirits are the one of the powers of nature, that one of the instruments that God uses for fulfilling the providential designs. However, not all spirits can go everywhere because there are regions that are forbidden to those who are less advanced. Topic for the following questions: the form and ubiquity of spirits. Number 88. Do spirits have a specific, limited, and constant form? Answer. To your eyes, no. To ours, yes. You might say they resemble a flame, a glow, or an ethereal spark. And then the question follows. Does this flame or spark have a color? Answer of the spirit. To you, it varies from the color of a dark ruby to a brilliant one, depending on the degree of the individual spirit's purity. And then Kardec makes a note under this answer. Spirit beings are ordinarily represented with a flame or a star on their brow. It is an allegory which alludes to the essential nature of spirits. The flame or star is placed there because that is the seat of intelligence. Now, question 89. Do spirits take any amount of time to travel across space? Spirit answer. Yes, but they are as fast as thought itself. Question under this one. Isn't though the soul itself moving from one place to another? Answer. When the thought is in a place, the soul is there too, since it is the soul that does the thinking. Thought is one of its attributes. Question number 90. Is a spirit who moves from one place to another conscious of the distance it travels and the space it crosses, or is it suddenly at the place to which it wanted to go? The spirit answers. Either way. If it wants to, a spirit can be perfectly aware of the distance it crosses, or such distance may seem to disappear completely. It all depends on the spirit's will and the degree to which its nature is purified. Question 91. Is matter an obstacle to spirits? Answer. No. They can pass through anything. The air, the earth, water, or even fire are equally accessible to them. Question number 92. Do spirits have the gift of ubiquity? In other words, can one and the same spirit divide itself up or be at various points all at the same time? Answer. A spirit cannot be divided up. However, each is a center radiating in different directions, and that is why it appears to be in many places all at the same time. Look at the sun. The sun is only one body, yet it radiates all around and sends its rays to great distances. Nevertheless, it does not divide itself up. And then, following question. Do all spirits radiate with the same power? Answer. Far from it. It depends on their degree of purity. And then Kardec makes a note under. Each spirit is an indivisible unit, but each one can extend its thought in different directions without dividing itself up. We should understand the gift of ubiquity attributed to spirits only in this sense. A spirit is like a spark which projects its light far off and which can be perceived from all points of the horizon. Or like an individual who, without changing places or dividing him or herself up, can transmit orders, signals, and movement to different points. Now, following topic, the perispirit. Question 93. Is the spirit per se without a covering, or as some insist, is it surrounded by some kind of substance? Answer. The spirit is surrounded by a substance that might look vaporous to you, but which is still quite dense to us. Nevertheless, it is sufficiently vaporous to be able to raise itself up into the air and travel to wherever it wants to go. And then Kardec writes a note. As a fruit seed is surrounded by the perisperm, the spirit per se is surrounded by an envelope, which by comparison may be called the perispirit. Question number 94. Does the spirit get this semi-material envelope? Then the spirit answers, from each globe's own universal fluid. Sorry, the question was, where does the spirit get this semi-material envelope? The answer is, from each globe's own universal fluid. That is why the perispirit is not the same on all worlds. In passing from one world to another, spirits change their envelope just as you change your clothes. And then the question follows. Then when spirits from more highly evolved worlds come to ours, do they take on a denser perispirit? Then the spirit answers. They must clothe themselves with your matter, as we have already said. Question number 95. Does the spirit's semi-material envelope have a specific form, and can it be seen? Answer. Yes, a form according to the spirit's volition, and that is how it sometimes appears to you in dreams or in the waking state, and how it may take on a visible or even tangible form. And then the topics follow. The different order of spirits. Question 96. Are all spirits equal, or is there some kind of hierarchy among them? Spirit answers. They are of different orders according to their individual degree of self-purification. Question 97. Are there a set number of orders or degrees of purification among spirits? Answers. The number is unlimited because there is no line of demarcation that acts as a barrier between each other. Thus, the divisions may be multiplied or decreased at will. However, if we consider their general characteristics, we may reduce them to three principal orders. In the first order, we may put those who have already reached perfection, the pure spirits. In the second are those who have reached the middle of the scale. Their main concern is the desire to do the good. In the third are those who are toward the bottom of the scale, the imperfect spirits. These are characterized by ignorance, the desire for evil. And in evil, he puts a note saying, throughout this work, evil must be interpreted relatively. It does not always imply absolute depravity or outright wickedness, as symbolized by Satan, for example. Rather, there are varying degrees. Question 630 explains it quite simply. Good is everything that is in harmony with God's law, whereas evil is everything that deviates from it. Thus, doing what is good conforms to God's law, while doing evils evil infringes upon it. Now, we continue with the questions. Where were we? The different order of spirits. Okay, so these are characterized by ignorance, the desire for evil, and all the passions that delay their advancement. Now, question 98. Do the spirits of the second order only possess the desire to do the good, or do they also have the ability to do it? Then, to do the good, he makes another note saying the good as a noun, excellence or merit, kindness, to do good, moral righteousness, virtue, to be a power for good. So, we continue to the answer. Their ability depends on their degree of purification. Some possesses scientific knowledge, others wisdom and goodness. And all of them, however, have trials that they must yet endure. Question 99. Are all spirits of the third order altogether evil? Then the answer is no. Some do neither good nor evil. Others, however, take pleasure in evil and are pleased when they find an opportunity for it. Still others are frivolous or foolish spirits, more mischievous than wicked. These take more pleasure in spite than evil. And they also take pleasure in amusing themselves by vexing people and causing them petty annoyances. Next topic, the spirit's hierarchy. Question 100. Preliminary observations. The classification of spirits based on their degree of development. The qualities have been acquired and the imperfections from which they have not yet freed themselves. This classification is by no means absolute. No single category displays a well-defined characteristic except as a group. The transition is hardly noticeable from one degree to the next. The gradations blend together and their borders also, much like what occurs in the kingdoms of nature, in the colors of the rainbow, or even in the different phases of human life. Thus, we may form a larger or smaller number of classes, depending on how we consider the subject. Such is the case with all systems of scientific classification. Such systems may entail various degrees of completeness, reasonableness, or convenience for the intellect. Whichever way they are viewed, however, in reality they change nothing regarding science itself. In this regard, the spirits questioned about this could have given various answers as to the number of categories without harming the overall idea. There are persons who have rather latched on to this seeming contradiction without considering the fact that spirits do not give any importance to what is purely conventional. For them, the thought is everything. To us, they leave the form, the choice of terms, the classifications, in a word, the systems. Furthermore, we would add yet one more consideration that we must always bear in mind. Among spirits, as among human beings, there are some who are very ignorant, and we must always be on our guard against the tendency to believe that they know everything simply because they are spirits. Every attempt at classification demands a methodical analysis and an in-depth knowledge of the subject. In addition, just as there are ignorant individuals in this world, there are those in the spirit world with limited knowledge who are incapable of learning and formulating any kind of system. They only know or comprehend any classification imperfectly. To them, all spirits who are more highly evolved than themselves are of the first order because they cannot discern their differences of knowledge, ability, and morality, as would be the case with an uneducated person among us in relation to learned individuals. Even those who may be capable of formulating a system can vary in the details according to their own points of view, especially when a division has nothing absolute about it. Linnaeus, Jussieu, and Tournefort each had their own method, but botany did not change because of it. They invented neither plans nor their characteristics, but merely observed analogies, forming groups and classes accordingly. We have done the same. We invented neither spirits or their characteristics. Rather, we watched and observed. We judged by their words and acts, and afterward we classified them according to their similarities, basing our classification on the data they themselves had furnished us. The spirits generally acknowledge three main categories or large divisions. In the last category, and at the bottom of the scale, are the imperfect spirits, characterized by the predominance of matter over spirit and an inclination toward evil. Those of the second are characterized by their predominance of the spirit nature over matter and their desire to practice the good. They are the good spirits. And finally, the first category include the pure spirits who have reached the highest degree of purification. This division seems perfectly rational and displays well-defined characteristics, leaving us only to discern through a sufficient number of subcategories the main nuances of each group as a whole. That is what we did with the help of the spirits, whose benevolent instructions have never failed us. With the aid of the following classifications, it will be easy to determine the order and degree of the highly evolved or less evolved spirits with whom we may associate, and consequently the degree of trust and esteem they deserve. In some ways, this is the key to spirit science, because it alone can explain to us the anomalies that sometimes appear in communications by enlightening us regarding spirits' intellectual and moral inequalities. However, we should note that spirits do not perpetually and exclusively belong to this or that class. Their progress is gradual, and since it often occurs in one area more than in another at any given time, they can display characteristics of several categories, a fact which is easy to discern through their language and acts. Well, guys, this was the end of this part. For now, we return as soon as possible. I leave you with a big kiss. Very good day to you. God bless you all, and see you next time.